So I believe we can start now. And our first question is, if you remember the beginning of your design journey, why did you choose it? Or maybe you feel like you were chosen by design.
For me, getting into design was just a happy accident. Um, I didn't know anything about industrial design, and I just think that my curiosity peaked when I just saw it on like the list of available like designated like careers, and I was already in a science-based what's this qualification, and I just really wasn't feeling fulfilled in it. And I'd always been a curious person, sort of like trying to learn how things are done, how things are like constructed and everything. So when I came across industrial design, I was like, this is it. This is like the perfect. So yeah, my second year, I switched my career and I ended up getting a qualification in industrial design. I kept on asking around, like, what is industrial design? Is it like architecture, but for manufacturing industries? Like, what is it? There's really, like, I'm from Botswana and there's really no market for industrial design. Like, even in the list of careers I knew were potential for me, looking at my marks from high school, nobody ever mentioned industrial design. So I didn't even think that it was a possibility to study. I didn't know what it was. So I just think I got into it by accident and just ended up loving it. And here I am.
And after all this journey, what are your thoughts on design now, from your perspective? What does it mean to design and to be a designer?
I mean, in the beginning, obviously, like when you start your industrial design career, there's always that whole question, like, what is industrial design? It's just the design for mass manufacture. And for countries, especially like for like countries in the south, like Botswana and your South Africa is like developing countries. I mean, mass manufacture really isn't a viable option in some instances. And I think that's where design fits in, especially with like appropriate like development of things that are right for the context. I mean, like my whole journey to get here has been like it's I think it's a self-discovery process as to where you fit in as well. And it's a very personal journey. So I think for me, it was like moving away from that whole cliche definition of like mass production to be like, but in the communities that I come from, that's not applicable. Already there's a lot of mass manufacture, and that whole mass manufacture really isn't meeting the needs of like this niche community. So I think for me, it's moved to be something more of a help the world initiative.
And what do you enjoy the most about working and studying in the design field?
I feel with the career path I had chosen in the beginning when I joined university, I was always going to get that 9 to 5 and just like communicating and being around circles of the same people with the same qualifications in the same field. Whereas being in industrial design, like it sort of like pushes you out of your boundaries. You get to learn new things. You get to interact with people from different industries. So I'm a person that likes to learn, and it's been a great learning opportunity. Like every day I learn something new. With every project I learn something new also, not only about that field, but about myself as well.
And do you have a memorable moment as a designer since you've been working and studying as well? It could be anything.
It's always, I get like a bit of satisfaction because not a lot of people know what industrial design is. And every time somebody's like, oh, but like, what does an industrial designer do? And I get into, like everything around this is designed, talk and everything. And just seeing people gain an appreciation for it. Like, oh, so that's what it is. Okay, yeah. So I think for me, it's that just somebody appreciating what I do. Because, like when you're in a career as a doctor, everybody knows what a doctor is. Everybody loves doctors. Everybody loves nurses. Everybody loves engineers. But like, for industrial design, it's not that. So for me, it's like those moments where somebody's like, aha. I'm like, yes.
Aha, that's what you do.
Yeah.
And what would you say was the best project you developed or participated in until today?
I think for me it was it's definitely my master's. I mean, um, for like my, what's this, my undergrad qualification, it was really a lot of like set studio projects where you really didn't get to engage with a lot of people. It's just you, your brief, and then sitting in a room, like just sketching away and modeling away. But I think with my master's, because it was like quite research heavy, and like I get to interact with different kinds of people. I had farmers as my participants, I had engineers as my participants. So it's sort of like this whole like mix. And for me, it's been quite fulfilling. And I really didn't think that it would turn out the way that it turned out. So for me, it's been my best project.
And could you tell me something about the best part you believe is to be a student? What is the best part?
I think we have quite a diverse group of students. So like I feel like it's a cheat for me to be like a postgraduate student and also lecturing, because I get the best of both worlds. I'm not really a student, but I'm not really that much of an academic. So for me, it's like all the conversations that I have about research, about design, and it's just really opened up my mind. And because I'm a student, I also get opportunities to apply for various conferences. So I've done quite a bit of like moving around conferences and going international as well. So I think those were the nice perks.
And what about the hard part? Not the hardest or the worst, but something that is hard.
Time management, and sort of like time management in relation to your expectations. Sort of like, I want to do this, I want to do all of these great things, but you don't have time, and it's accepting that you can't solve every problem.
Yes, and there's a little bit of procrastination inside of it, I believe, and sometimes your expectations with your time management not doing well, it can get a little bit crazy or frustrating.
Yeah, procrastination resonates with me.
With all of us, probably.
Yeah.
And since this coronavirus pandemic started, we all, of course, suffered from a lot of changes in our daily lives. But in this new
Mhm.
scenario, how the situation changed the way you design and the way you work on your projects?
I think like I used to get myself involved in a lot of activities like within my department. And I think because of COVID, I'm now forced to self-introspect more about my designs, because there's not a lot of like noise from the outside, like inputs from other people. So sort of like a self, to some certain extent, like a little bit self-centered of a design, because you're there, you can't meet with all of your participants, so you now need to think on certain instances on their behalf. And it's been quite an interesting process for me. um yeah, it's been stressful also, because you get frustrated when you're around other people. You get input quite fast, and I'm a bit impatient. So getting to deal around with sending out stuff and wanting feedback on it and not getting it on time. And then what do you do in the meanwhile? Do you move on with things that you think you need to move on with? Do you wait for all the feedback and apply it then? It's, yeah, COVID, hey.
Yeah, we are together in this.
Yeah.
And now a little bit more about your learning process. When you want to learn something new, how do you do it?
Usually a lot of YouTube. A lot of YouTube. a lot, a lot of YouTube.
We are super
Um,
fans of YouTube tutorials over here.
100%. Like every time I don't know anything, I'm like YouTube. It's on my favorite tabs list. No, I'm saying it like it's in a lot of YouTube and a lot of experimentation. I mean, my process is quite hands-on, so it's like a lot of like prototyping. It's not working, go back onto YouTube. Like, what is somebody, come back, try and apply it myself. And quite a good amount of following hashtags on Instagram. because there's a lot of students accounts on there where people are doing cool things and I'm like, oh yes, this is exactly what I wanted. Because there's like, especially universities now that are moving on to social media, they're showing up a lot of their processes on how students develop their projects, different types of like prototyping skills. Some even set up like webinars that you can also attend. So yeah, Instagram and YouTube are my like top tips.
Do you have a dream as a designer?
I think for me, it's just making a difference to everyday lives, even if it's just like one person. Just getting to engage with people. I think industrial design has opened up for me like avenues. I'm quite a curious person. Like it's not even like a good attribute now. It's like a vice. I'm a very curious person. So I think I just learned something new, get to travel, get to share with people.
And our last question now is about DESIS network, because we are trying to create this whole new initiative that is DESIS Students. And I don't know, maybe you could tell us something about what do you see as the future of DESIS and how we as students can be a part of this future.
For me, I think especially like for like my own experience, it's opened up a lot of conversations around design and applications of design and how to improve like the global south through design kind of thing. And those have been quite interesting conversations, and a great and many proposals have come of it, you know, to really invest in researching what the best outcomes are. And I think as students, all of our research and all of our insights plays quite a big role in getting like a whole database of this kind of information going around. And I think that like in my department, more especially like some of us that were actually in the DESIS network have now just like moved into getting into academia. And I think that brings a whole new, fresh kind of face to academia and research, and sort of like not like refine it, but like how do I say it? Like sort of like re-evaluating, not re-evaluating, but sort of like reinvigorating like design. Yes. So, yeah, because I mean, like the reality is, especially in South Africa and in Botswana, there's not a lot of diversity in the field of design. And I think the more students that come to the DESIS network and look at the importance of research, in our experience and in my own experience, has really created an air of like a model for diversification as well. So I think, yeah, that's for me the importance of like DESIS and DESIS related students.
Oratile, thank you so much for joining us for today. That was it. That was all of our questions. You're free now, but seriously, thanks again for joining us and, I don't know, embarking on this new adventure, even though we don't know how it's gonna end, but.
Okay. No, it's been a great pleasure talking to you.